Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover. So do me a favor before we dive into these topics. If you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. And if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We're starting here talking about an upcoming free-to-play shooter called The Finals that is really beginning to garner some attention online in its closed beta test. And the reason why I want to cover this is because not only does it look really good, but it is going to be making its way to PS5. This is being reported by Push Square. They say if you're interested in multiplayer shooters at all, you may have recently started to hear about The Finals from developer Embark Studios, comprising of many ex-Battlefield developers. This is a free-to-play team-based FPS that's currently in a closed beta test on PC, and it's proving to be very popular already. The question remains, is The Finals coming to PS5? Fortunately, it is. The game will indeed be launching on PS5 along PC and Xbox Series, though there's no release date just yet. For now, we can at least tell you that the game is looking very good. The Finals is also the name of the in-universe game show in which players plug into virtual battlegrounds and compete for fame and fortune. While the game might sound pretty vanilla, it has a couple of very interesting things going for it. Firstly, server-side destruction and player movement means that each map can be completely torn apart and that the carnage will be exactly the same for everyone. It allows for more improvisational tactics, the most obvious example being to blow holes into buildings to expose the enemy. Another interesting bullet point is its wide-ranging customization. Apparently, you'll be able to really hone in on what you want your avatar to be and how they play. There will be lots of visual customization options, and you can then outfit them with all sorts of weaponry, from katanas to rocket launchers. You can throw gadgets, zip lines, shields, grappling hooks, and so ultimately it makes for a very dynamic game. Now, the reason why I wanted to cover this is because I don't know how many of you guys are Battlefield fans, but I've been a pretty big Battlefield fan over the years, although I have completely fallen off recently with Battlefield 2042. And it's really interesting to me to see that, former Battlefield developers are out here kind of, catching people's attention with a game that, when I look at this gameplay, looks very much Battlefield inspired, and you can just tell while watching the gameplay that, yeah, these are former Battlefield developers. So I just wanted to kind of make you guys aware of this game, and I'm actually curious to see what you may have to say about it. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Moving on from that, we are talking about the Last of Us HBO. We have some really good and maybe even surprising news for the show. This is being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle. They say The Last of Us HBO TV adaptation has defied trends by once again breaking its viewership records. Where most TV shows tend to lose viewers as the season continues onwards, The Last of Us has managed to increase its viewership by 74% since its debut episode. The penultimate episode of The Last of Us TV show reached a massive 8.1 million viewers last weekend, a record for the show according to Variety. While HBO had not released figures for episode 5 and 7, episode 4 had managed to accrue 7.5 million viewers and was the previous record holder. Bearing in mind the show debuted with 4.7 million viewers, this is also a very large increase. So yeah, had to let you guys know about this. I've still been watching The Last of Us HBO every Sunday. Thought the last episode was, once again, very good. And the next episode, that being episode 9, is actually going to be the season finale. And I'm very curious to see how they handle it. Obviously, we know how impactful the end of the Last of Us game was. And so I think it's going to be particularly important that they, nail a couple of aspects here. And it's worth noting that the season finale is going to be 45 minutes, which is not that long in my opinion when you consider the season premiere was actually about an hour and a half. So yeah, a lot of stuff that's going to be, put into that 45-minute window. We'll see how it all pans out. But I figured I would let you guys know The Last of Us HBO is continuing to grow even as we approach the finale. Moving on from that, though, we have a little bit of news for PlayStation VR2. This is coming from VGC, where it says Sony has said it believes PlayStation VR2 has a, quote, good chance, end quote, of outselling its predecessor. The original PSVR launched for PS4 in October of 2016 and had sold 5 million units by the end of 2019, according to Sony. Its follow-up, which requires users to own a PS5 console, launched last month. During the fireside chat at the Morgan Stanley Technology, Media, and Telecom Conference on Monday, Sony Executive Deputy President and Chief Financial Officer Hiroki Totoki was asked to evaluate PSVR2's launch and what the company's expectations for the hardware are going forward. Quote, "We are very happy to launch PSVR2 on PS5. VR1, we sold over 5 million units, and I think we have a good chance to exceed that amount with PlayStation VR2, end quote. Totoki went on to reference forecasts that the overall VR market could be one of the largest growth areas in the media and entertainment segment during the first half of this decade. If accurate, he said, there's good potential for the VR/AR market and also good potential of technology development in this field as well. So figured I would just kind of let you guys know what Hiroki Totoki, Sony's CFO and president, is saying about PSVR 2. They still seem, very optimistic about it, and it's still really early. PSVR 2 just literally launched. So it'll be interesting to kind of, get the first sales figures and, hear Sony talk more about how it's performing. But continuing to talk about PSVR 2, we have some maybe not so good news. I have a report here from PlayStation Lifestyle that says a small number of PSVR 2 players have been reporting a flaw in their controller charging stations that is allegedly melting their Sense controllers. These players have not been able to get in touch with Sony, but have been able to return the faulty products to retailers. The controllers are being placed on charge as they normally would be, but some players are claiming that they are returning to find that both the controller and the charging station damaged. According to photos posted on Reddit, the PSVR 2 Sense controller and charging stations appear to be either overheating or shorting during their charging process, leading to the two items melting into each other. Yeah, this is obviously not good if this is not just a one-off thing, and that's the thing that we want to keep in mind here is, these are a couple of photos posted to Reddit, but this could be the beginning of learning about some type of issue between the Sense controllers and the charging dock. So I just wanted to basically put this out here to ask anybody who may be listening to this, if you are somebody who bought PSVR 2 and also the charging dock for the controllers, how has it been for you? Have you ran into any issues? I'm going to be really curious to know, because if we're seeing people report about this on Reddit, and then I also see people in my comment section saying that, yeah, it's actually happening to them too, then yeah, this might be a pretty serious problem that Sony has to rectify quickly, and obviously help out the customers that are, having their Sense controllers damaged. So let me know down below. Moving on from that, we have yet another update on the ongoing Activision Blizzard Microsoft acquisition. We have an article that says Microsoft has disputed claims that Call of Duty PlayStation players are likely to switch to Xbox should Activision Blizzard be acquired and the franchise ever become exclusive. Microsoft's latest statement in the response to concerns expressed by the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, or the CMA, the regulator has proposed leaving Call of Duty out of the acquisition, a proposition Microsoft has shot down. As reported by Axios, the Xbox maker has complained that the CMA has overestimated Call of Duty's value and quoted a YouGov survey that found that only 3% of players, of PlayStation players specifically, would consider making the jump to Xbox over Call of Duty. Quote, "As we have said all along, it makes zero business sense to take Call of Duty off of PlayStation." The company added that the percentage of players that might switch to Xbox is too small to hurt Sony's ability to compete and too small to make a withholding strategy profitable for Xbox, end quote. Indeed, the CMA's own survey found that 15% of dedicated Call of Duty players would switch platforms should the franchise ever become exclusive. However, revenue lost from player switching platforms is understandably unacceptable to Sony. So just wanted to cover this because, Microsoft is out here continuing to fight against these regulatory bodies. And in this case, they're making it clear to the CMA that, look, if we get Call of Duty and if it were to ever go exclusive, which is interesting that they're even kind of framing it that way, it's not really going to impact PlayStation that much. Only a small percentage of PlayStation players are actually going to switch. And that may be true. We're only going off of surveys here and specific data points, but the reality is no one can really know what would happen in this regard until it actually happens, right? And it's also worth noting that Microsoft does once again reaffirm that it makes zero business sense to take Call of Duty off of PlayStation. That I actually do have to agree with, and this is one of the things that, you know, I think is becoming more clear as time goes on, that it just really does not make any sense for Microsoft to take Call of Duty off of PlayStation. It just simply makes way too much money, and that's money that Microsoft simply would not want to leave on the table. So figured I would just give you guys this update on the situation, but we are going to move on to the final topic of the video, which is a sales update in Europe when it comes to PlayStation, and it is absolutely staggering. We've been talking about these very large percentages, 200% here, 300% there, when it comes to sales increases of the PS5 year over year. But now we are seeing yet another colossal number, this time a 400% increase year on year in Europe when it comes to PS5 sales in February. That's actually 5 times more than what we saw last year when it comes to how many consoles Sony is selling in Europe. We have an article here once again from PS Lifestyle where it says PS5 sales continue to be impressive at the start of this year. The Sony console is, quote, comfortably, end quote, overtaking both Nintendo Switch and the Xbox Series consoles for February 2023 in Europe, according to GamesIndustry.biz. PS5 sales during this time period are more than double that of the Nintendo Switch, which is actually down 28% across Europe and faces a similar decline in the UK. This is based on the latest analysis from GI.biz, which also reveals that Microsoft had a 13% sales increase when compared to its results in February of last year. So that's actually good. You know, we've been seeing how the Xbox console has seemingly been on a downward trend, but at least in Europe, it is actually seeing an upward trend of 13%. So definitely good for the Xbox consoles there. The article continues by saying this follows an earlier report that PS5 sales in the UK have spiked up 316% in February of 2023, and this is mainly due to sluggish sales last year due to a shortage in PS5 consoles that is no longer an issue. So yeah, I wanted to be sure to cover this because I know some people are getting tired of hearing about, you know, console sales and how well Sony's doing. I understand. Not only is news basically slow right now, and this is one of the only major pieces of information coming out about PlayStation, but it is still significant in my opinion. And the thing that has become clear to me is that Hogwarts Legacy is absolutely playing a pretty significant part in how many PS5 units that are being sold, because something else that we learned with this European sales data is that Hogwarts Legacy, obviously we know it's a colossal success. I keep using that word, but I mean, it really is just huge how well Hogwarts Legacy is doing. But apparently in Europe, Hogwarts Legacy's launch sales are bigger than every Call of Duty game released in the last 6 years. And it is about to overtake lifetime sales of Elden Ring. But that first statistic in particular is insane. Like, that's actually pretty unbelievable. So it seems like Sony made a very, very strategic and smart move here by securing such, you know, significant marketing rights for a game like Hogwarts Legacy, because there's no doubt in my mind that this game is playing a big role in moving a lot of PS5 units. I know it sounds crazy to some people, but there are absolutely some individuals out there who decided to buy a PS5 to play a game like Hogwarts Legacy because they are under the impression, due to the marketing rights, that it's actually only available on PS5 and PC, even though we know that's not the case. But there you go. Wanted to give you this update on PS5 sales. It's just continuing to increase. And yeah, you have to wonder at this point, you know, considering Sony doesn't really have any major first-party releases lined up anytime soon. I mean, the next one is Spider-Man this fall. You know, when exactly is this going to slow down? Maybe it won't. Anyway, guys, that does it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.